If your house was on fire, what would you do? You'd probably run outside, which is a good choice. It's an excellent choice. What if you can't run? I can't run. These legs have not done any running for a long time. The old grey mare just ain't what she used to be. But I would get my wheelchair moving as fast as possible. But what if I wasn't in my wheelchair at the time? What if I was in bed? Well, fortunately, I can do independent transfers, so I could get into my wheelchair and then get my wheelchair moving as fast as possible. But what about the wheelchair users who can't transfer independently? What do they do? I came across an article recently on ABC News and it got me thinking, got me frustrated, got me scared, got me angry, and I want to share some of it with you. If you live in a supported independent living home or a specialist disability accommodation home, or you have a friend or a loved one who does, or if you work in one of these places, I encourage you to ask some questions. Between 2003 and 2017, 62% of people who passed away in preventable residential fires had a disability. These are often people who have physical disabilities and they can't move, they can't run, they can't use a fire extinguisher, or they're people with intellectual disabilities and they can't really understand what to do in that situation. They don't really understand what a smoke alarm means or how to understand their fire safety or their fire routine. These are people who can only listen to a smoke alarm and feel fear. In 2011, a fire broke out in the Quakers Hill nursing home in Sydney, and 11 elderly residents passed away. Now, following that, the installation of sprinklers, the roof sprinklers, became mandatory in aged care homes under the National Construction Code. However, sprinklers are only recommended in residential homes for disabled people. Not mandatory, just recommended. And at $5,000 to $20,000 for a system installation, some places might just think, we'll be okay without it, I'm sure. We'll be all right. But the numbers don't add up to, she'll be right. Mark Wybro, the chair of the Home Fire Sprinkler Coalition Australia, points out that while simple fire alarms provide a 50% improvement in the chances of surviving a standard house fire, they do nothing to combat the fire itself. They only increase the awareness of the residents that there is a fire. Sprinklers, on the other hand, provide a 90% improvement in the chances of surviving a standard house fire as they actually combat some of the flames. They give a little bit more time for people to get out. And in a situation where warning residents about a fire might not be enough, because many residents might not be able to independently respond and escape, actually putting out flames is a high priority. He also mentions that the increase of plastics, synthetics, and polystyrene foam, they contribute to a fire and can cause a room to be set alight in minutes. And I've got to say, the amount of disability equipment that is made out of plastic and synthetic material, I mean, it's like dry wood to a match. Sprinklers can keep things under control for a little bit, slow things down a little bit, so that staff and residents have time to get out, time to do transfers, time to communicate, time to lead, and time to follow. This needs to be mandatory, and it's borderline inhumane that it isn't yet. There are a lot of issues with group homes in the state and in the country. There are some that the Yirruma Human Rights Committee is working on. I'm a part of that committee and we've been talking about it. One of them is huge levels of underfunding, and that influences fire safety, because if you've got not enough workers to clients, then if you have a fire emergency, how are you going to get everyone out quickly? And so funding can be an issue, but a one-off payment to install a sprinkler alarm system or sprinkler system increases everyone's odds of being safe in something like this, in an emergency like this. I feel like in every healthcare situation, in every situation where you're looking after people who can't always completely look after themselves, something like sprinklers, something like fire safety should be mandatory. And today I learned that it's not. Let's change that. Let's kick up a stink. If you know somebody in a situation like this, if you work in a situation like this in one of these facilities, ask questions. Start asking questions. Start probing. Start being annoying. Sometimes things happen when you get annoying. All right. That's all for this one. Thank you so much for listening and for learning with me. I'll see you in the next one. Bless.